The house was a complete and utter mess, but that was to be expected. Nobody had lived here in over 30 years. Paint peeled off of chipped wooden walls. Ceiling tiles were stained, or filled with holes, if not outright missing. The wooden floor was caked in dust and debris, from one corner of the room to the next. As I stepped into the living room, I had noticed a little girl sitting on the floor innocently, dangling her legs into a massive hole where the floor had caved in. She looked up at me, and we stared each other in the eyes. Her stare sent a feeling of sadness. And just like that, as I blinked, she had disappeared into thin air. Just before, the tiny little girl giggled in delight as she sat in the destruction she created, for she is the goddess of some mysterious world I had never seen until now. From a flash of light from her tiny hand, I saw what she wanted me to see, her power, her ability to control and move things, to stick images in my head, like a movie. As the movie played, she shuddered, stepping to the side as she felt the world beneath her feet sag and give. Her skin pricked, as if bolts of lightning grazed her flesh. Moments later, she reappeared laying on the floor, looking up at me with a blank stare and said, "What?" The words tumbled softly from her lips. The house around her was in ruins. The once vibrant wood had aged and splintered, while the large gaping maw of a hole echoed in the space before her. This wasn't home, she thought with mute horror. No pained cries that echoed off of cheerful dishes. No cheery faces trapped by glass, a ruse to hide the dead gazes that looked out. With shivering limbs she moved to the floor, trying to piece together the fragmented memories. It came to her in clips. A flash of an angry face, the sob of a frightened woman. Chaos bleeding into her very core until she could feel herself shatter apart, like a rubber band snapping across her soul. The world had spun after that, only the sound of her own anguish ringing loudly in her ears. Her shoulders sagged with unspoken grief. What had she done? Her head tilted down as hot tears slipped like rivers down her face. She had made a promise to herself, the first night that electricity had swollen beneath her skin. Right as she watched the paper before her age and crumble into ash in her hands. She had promised herself to keep herself in check, that no one would come to harm beneath her touch. But as the air pressed down around her, its silence screaming her own guilt in the back of her mind. "This is my fault, all my fault," she said. "No dear, it's not," I said. "Who are you?" the girl asked. "My name is Edward." "Stay paranoid, my friends.